Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned Albino ranks every Organization 13 data boss fight in Kingdom Hearts 2 from easiest to hardest. In Final Mix and Beyond, a new area opens up in the Radiant Garden postern called the Cavern of Remembrance. And at the end of this cavern, full of the most disgusting, heartless, and nobody encounters in the game, is a data center, where you can fight a replication of every member of the organization at their strongest as many times as you want. What fucking fun. The same rules apply here as they did in my original ranking, which is no drives, no limits, no summons, and no reflect. Pro gamers from all over the world came out of the woodwork to nitpick the hell out of my last video, so I bet y'all can't wait to see what I have in store for you today. Let's hit it. Number 1, Lux Sword. The easiest boss of the data fights is Lux Sword, for me at least, but you shouldn't be surprised. After all, I'd be a pretty shitty comedian if I didn't have an impeccable sense of timing. With 2 finishing pluses equipped, you can knock back Lux Sword with the first and second finishers and then thrust right through his counter move with your third to destroy his cards. Should have had him in defense mode. Here's your token Yu-Gi-Oh reference. He looks to be in a gaming mood more here than in his regular encounter, which is great since that's the best way to lower his gauge. The roulette action has been noticeably sped up for the data version, so you'll just have to be even more precise, none more so than the final slot of his ultimate gamble. Just treat it like one of those digital block stack button press timing machines in arcades, where you can get real prizes, only win instead. That shit's rigged anyway. Number 2, Cyax. This fight is largely the same as the mainline one, only Cyax leaves his weapon on the ground a lot less and you have much less time to berserk him with it after you pick it up, which is actually probably better. After you knock him out of the air with the reaction command, any follow-up attack you do will be met with a quick counter, so I'd suggest hitting him once and then chaining a leaf-bracing cure to auto-deflect his retaliation, which will open him up for a long enough time to not worry about your MP recharging. Cyax is easy to jump around and dodge anyway if you really need to heal in a tight spot. Once he starts land sharking across the battlefield, you'll want to jump and glide around the arena as high as you can to avoid the pillars of blue flame. Otherwise, it's basically just Cyax as usual, and you probably know what to do already. I love the comments I always get about how I'm just a filthy casual. Like, nothing I do is ever optimal enough. I could do a level 1 critical mode pacifist playthrough, and bitches would still be like, but have you done it blindfolded? Fuck yourselves. If you want an easiest to hardest list from a speedrunning champion, go find the none of the people that are doing that. Ooh, he's salty. Number 3, Marluxia. Yeah, I said Marluxia, y'all calling him Marluxia like he's some kind of French diplomat. Although if he was French, it would explain why he uses the aroma of flowers to make you think you don't smell like straight up shit. Put your cigarette out and fight me, bitch. Marluxia puts a counter on your head that imitates your level, and every time he attacks you with his scythe, that number goes down. If it reaches 0, you lose, but if you're level 99 and you get hit 99 times without killing him and without dying, I might find that kind of impressive. If he locks you in a rosary cage, it's a time bomb that explodes, but if you stay mobile, you'll get out of it beforehand. He's a real big fan of spawning these black pools. I mean, African-American pools. See, we're in a post-racial society that leave you no room to get around and prevent you from taking opportunities on Marluxia when he's in the center. My favorite thing he does is his Buzzsaw Weed Whacker attack, where he spins along the ground and you can just guard when he comes up to you, and he's guaranteed vulnerable when he's done doing it. I'm less a fan of when he starts spurting rose juice out of the ground as he hovers above your shoulder, undressing you with his eyes. I remembered seeing this on a stream I watched like 6 months ago, but if you run in a circle at the right angle, you'll never get hit by the geysers. The truth is I don't know how to counter everything Marluxia does, because for the most part none of it is dangerous enough to force me to learn, which is a great thing for someone who has a video to upload. Number 4, Demyx. Yo, if you like Dance Water Dance originally, you are gonna love it played on repeat 7 times throughout this battle. It's different now though, because if you hit the water clones with your weapon, they turn into helicopters for some reason and propeller your dick off. You need to cast Blizzaga on them to turn them into musical notes you can then use to create a magnet effect and draw the other clones into their death. You'll have to do this through 3 separate sets of waves before you can even start thinking about poking Demyx, so enjoy it. Once the real fight starts, I actually need to revise my earlier opinion that Demyx is hard, because he is not. At all. I'm playing with around 60% blizzard-resistant armor, which you should always stack up on the element you'll be facing, but besides his attacks not being terribly dangerous, there's just a clear and present pattern you'll notice pretty quick. Do a combo and double finisher on him, roll away from the counterattack, and cast Thundaga on him while he geysers. Once per fight, a couple music note clones wander into the playing field randomly, and you can grab one and do a buttload of damage. Remember elementary school when people said that? It's still so funny when you think about it. Like, what if that was used as a legit unit of measurement? Some guy's like, so what you're looking at here is 20 kilos of pure heroin. I see, and how much is that in butts? Anyway, once you learn how to guard Demyx's quote-unquote ultimate, where he says, "Come on, kick to the beat," you'll completely mitigate your troubles. Guard his final swing and flash step forward to avoid the resulting geyser. Or if you get hit by the geyser, quickly use an aerial counterattack and you can combo him that way too. The only reason Demyx isn't at the bottom of this list is because of his last Dance Water Dance, which expects you to kill however many too many clones in however little too little time. If you're not drive forming, you have to be 100% flawless in your Blizzaga and Triangle execution, and you need to unequip any of Goofy's multi-hit abilities because he loves to get in your fucking way. I lost like 7 times because I either missed a single Blizzard hit or didn't reaction command in time once before Goofy or Donald knocked them out of note form. Be speedy AF. Number 5, Zigbar. During this fight I learned that the double jump air dodge reflects projectiles. I never knew that. Of course, that'll only save you from one burst fire, and Zigbar is the king of trigger-happy havoc. Of all the data fights, this is the most obvious one where they want you to use Reflega, but I'm a stubborn little rebellious bitch, so I refuse. And I suffer for it, but the bullets do little damage. You'll mostly just get pissed off as he slowly stun-locks you to death. Zigbar will change the layout of the field periodically to almost no effect, so that's fun. Zigbar's ultimate is the same as before, and thanks to the resounding chorus of comments in my last video, I now know you just have to run in a circle to avoid the hail of gunfire at the end, provided you don't trip over the corpses of your departed friends. Zigbar teleports around all day, firing constantly, without staggering, and it's real annoying, but you can brute force your way through a lot of the fight if you really put your mind to it. Number 6, Lexia. I've heard rumblings that a strong demographic of people think Lexia is the easiest data fight, but I can't get behind that. I might have good timing, but my initial reflexes are garbage. Dodge roll is your best friend for this if your reaction time is better than mine. I just cannot for the life of me react to what he does until it's too late, because the only way I found to get past his absurd power level is to block his little scrape attack leading into the triangle command, but to do that I have to be close enough to him to probably get auto-grabbed by one of his charges, or try to instantly block when I see him move and get subsequently ground-pounded. I can say this boss is one of the easiest to get a grip on what you're supposed to do, conceptually, but fulfilling that obligation is just another matter for me when he goes fucking Super Saiyan every time he throws me against the wall. If I had a scouter at that point, it would break in 1,000 little pieces. Like, yeah, you can destroy him whenever you reaction command him, but I just have such trouble getting to that point. Number 7, Axel. This fight will probably be the fastest encounter of all the bosses, whether you live or die. Axel starts out by coating the floor in lava, which does massive perpetual damage to your health as you stand in it. Once more will save you from death, provided you don't ever leave the lava ground and come back. What you need to do is quickly block one of his attacks and counter fast enough to stagger him before unleashing a double finisher. When this happens, he'll disappear into the wall, and you'll want to run to the center of the map so there's no chance of you missing out on the subsequent reaction commands that will disperse the flames from the arena. He'll keep puking magma onto the ground, and you'll have to keep mopping it up. This fight is pretty much as close to a turn-based encounter as it gets. Always block first and then react fast. Sometimes he'll rush around behind you to do his burn attacks. You'll need to stay on your singed aft toes. But if you do everything right, Axel can be dead in less than a minute. Just a quick all-encompassing tip when it comes to difficult bosses: never heal unless you are at 1 HP. If you are at 2 HP with second chance and once more, that is almost just as good as full HP depending on the situation, so don't squander your MP just because your health starts blinking. Next, number 8, Roxas. This Roxas is actually easier than the first one because they gave you some new tools to fight him with. In addition to everything he already did, Roxas now has a Nobody Swordsman style duel mechanic where you must select the end command in the right slot to not get racked. If you succeed, you get 2 new floating keyblades to play with for a while, and you can use them to deal massive, usually uninterrupted damage to Roxas. His ground game is still very threatening, but if you're really in a bind, it's pretty easy to just glide around him until you can heal. You can also use Glide to wait for openings when he finishes his strings, do a quick air combo on him before he recovers. Glide is the best way to dodge his midfield projectile attack too. Glide is just the best thing. You can glide in place if you just jump and press square, and you'll steadily float downwards while looking confused and also constipated. It's just fun. Number 9, Zexion. I like Zexion because this is a battle I can win without understanding half of what's going on. He'll start out trapping your party in books, which is a great metaphor for how much the world today hates reading, me included. You can bust them out with finishers and then score some combos on Zexion until he sends you all to the Shadow Thesaurus realm, where a book will fly up and turn your command list into a Stephanie Meyer novel. You must flip through the pages of this new almanac and find a word that is synonymous with breaking free or unlocking and select it to rid yourself of the scholarly curse. Damn, this fight's fun to describe. Speaking of scribes, Zexion's army of overdue library books will continue to bombard you with flaming rhetoric until you use a finisher on one followed by a quick reaction command to emerge from the archive unharmed, where you may then bully Zexion for reading. Fucking nerd. Where's a synonym for locker so I can materialize one and shove you into it? There's one part where 3 spotlights shine on the realm and a book shudders between them. I know the goal is to be in the same spotlight as the book to protect yourself from the naturally ensuing meteor shower, but I never got how to make that happen aside from pure luck. It's okay though, because I won the fight without doing it successfully, so you can too. Number 10, Vexin. I'm torn here, because on one hand I would suggest not having combo pluses so you can break his shield with a finisher faster, but on the other hand, once you do, you're going to want to be able to spam Faraga as many times in a row as possible, so I guess you have to decide whether more opportunities for damage or more damage during those opportunities is more important to you. Vexin is constantly gathering data about Sora to create an anti-Sora, though we could have just asked Riku to tell him how he made his on Captain Hook's ship from the first game. Once Anti-Sora appears, your priority should be smiting it immediately because its combos can take it down to 1 HP in a fucking flash. At around the halfway point, Vexin will spawn big Halo of Flies ice block orbitals that hover around him and stun lock you until the cows come home from the other side of the planet. I don't fully know how to avoid this when he keeps charging at you, save from hugging a wall and trying to get around him on the other side every time, I guess. When Vexin is open, he takes the most damage out of anyone in the game, which is neat when you can make that work. But otherwise, it's a tantalizing carrot on a string, knowing you're always this close to annihilating him. Number 11, Xemnas. I wished to the god of light, dark, and nothingness that Xemnas' first phase was his only phase because it's so ridiculously easy I thought I'd put one over on the game. Whenever he attacks you out of a teleport, guard once, then use the counter guard ability to break through his second hit, and you can absolutely neuter him this way. It won't work when he throws out his reflect wall first, unless you compensate for the timing, so watch out. Otherwise, it's just spam guarding his long strings and then doing that building reaction command again. When the first phase is done, you'll come to a familiar setting, with Riku now in tow, ready to give you 10,000 potions over the course of the fight. I ain't complaining. The problem is even with Riku's nurse complex keeping me topped off at regular intervals, Xemnas still destroys my whole life. At this point, I've given up trying to use the reversal reaction command during the "we shall go together" section, opting to instead try and gain as much height as possible at first, before just tanking every hit and hoping I don't hit the ground before he's done. I never reliably figured out how to get past his giant nothing balls without getting clipped or failing to stagger him. And without reflect, once it gets to the laser part, just fucking forget it. I got perforated with so many holes, I looked like a wheel of Swiss cheese left outside during an uncharacteristically sharp hailstorm. I was so relieved whenever the cutscene attacks were rolling, because finally, something I'm unlikely to screw up. You kill Data Xemnas the same way you kill the regular one, only this time you can put a cute little crown on your head afterwards. Number 12, Zalden. Data Zalden makes regular Zalden look like a preschooler with 6 floating sticks, which would still warrant a trip to the principal's office, but whatever. I've scienced everything he does, except one deadly thing that kills me every time, which I'll get to later. He starts out with his projectile move, which you can roll under and get an air combo in before leaping away. Just like before, your goal is to block an attack and gather a shitstorm of jump commands to use on him at the right time so that he isn't defending against them with his windshield at the time. If he starts doing his airdrop plunging attacks, you should fly around the bridge to dodge him, taking care not to be turning when he drops or you'll get clipped. But also try and mash triangle while you're gliding after he lands, because if you do it right, you can build up a few extra jump commands in the process that you should utilize immediately after his final drop, or else you won't hit him in time to catch him off guard. This is all standard fare. Eventually he'll do his long irradiated combo, and after you guard, and you'll guard that, then he'll get on his cannon steed and shoot pointless wind at you. It's after this that poses huge trouble. When he comes back to the bridge, after arrow blasting you, he now has an intermittent wind shield, and I cannot overstate just how quickly that shit decimates your health when he floats at you with it. I do not know how to dodge it. He just glides up to me like, "Sup bro, you like death?" And then I find out whether or not I like death. You need to block an attack at this stage to gather more jumps, which will finish him soundly if you could just do it once while avoiding his shield, but you can't block his shield, and so a lot of times you die screaming. It took me 20 or so tries to beat Zalden. Eventually you'll encounter a situation where he's not cannibalizing your body with sharp air, and you'll be able to take him out. Number 13, Lark Scene. The hardest data boss out of the organization in Kingdom Hearts 2 is Lark Scene. Hashtag girl power. Hashtag yes all women. Hashtag never Hillary. Hashtag what? Lark Scene's Thunder Barrage dance she always does at the beginning and throughout the battle is the single cheapest I hated attack out of all of the organization. With a couple ribbons and shock charms in tow, I can tank a lot of hits from it while trying to mash square for a quick aerial knockback whenever I'm close to her when she gets me. Otherwise, you can glide around and try to zero her, which might interrupt her attack, but you'll still get clipped. Lark Scene does not take kindly to being comboed. If you double finish her, you better be on the ground and you better dodge roll immediately afterwards. Whenever Lark Scene showed up on my Chain of Memory streams, everybody was moaning about how they hate her, but I think she's kinda hot. Because if you're familiar with me, then of course I do, right? Sure, she's got a bad attitude, but you're really gonna tell me you never wonder what's under that cloak? I'm sure it's electrifying. I am owning that joke, and I will not see myself out, thank you very much. When she splits into two, ooh, twins. Whenever they disappear, get ready to spam square. Although sometimes if you're unlucky, they'll clip a reach around and hit you from behind through your guard. Vicinity break and explosion, pretty much anything you have that can do wide area damage, you should equip, so if you're attacking one half of Lark Scene, the other can't sneak in behind you for some surprise rape, although that is my favorite kind of surprise. During her ultimate, she'll give Hades an erection by twirling around the center of the stage shooting lightning beams from her arms. You want to jump as high as you can and glide around that and then just kind of feel for how her follow-up attacks work. Lark Scene is a bitch to fight, so if you win, congrats. Well, that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I've got other rankings of Kingdom Hearts and Souls games in my repertoire if you want to check those out. If you're wondering whether or not it's worth subscribing to me, ask yourself one question. Does it cost me anything to do so? And if the answer is obviously not, and it's compounded with you enjoying my content, then do absolutely feel obligated to subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.